My name's Rita Q. I'm a very grateful, recovered compulsive eater. Just going to start with a quick prayer to the God of my understanding. Uh, God, take me where you want me to go. Let me meet who you want me to meet and tell me what you want me to say. Keep me out of your way. Keep me free of ego and self-importance. Always remain in your humble servant. So I'm hoping I'm in the right place because I was thinking this is a threefold illness for me. So the common bond that we all have is that I am totally different than anybody else in my, well, not my family necessarily, but of my friends have a threefold illness. So when I start looking at food, I look at it in a way that not many other people do. I'm mentally different. I've got an obsession about it, and I suffer from a spiritual malady, which is the bondage of self, which I have to say I did not understand when I first came in because I was somebody I would have done anything for you. I really would have, but there was always a price. I had that little cosmic score chart. None of you saw it, but it was right up here in my head. And, I heard one of my friends say recently in the program, I was a kind manipulator. That's what I was. And I loved that expression because that was me. I had an allergy that I never realized I had, that when I ingested certain foods, I couldn't stop when I started, and I couldn't stop from starting. I had an allergy to volume as well. I always had to feel full. I had to feel satiated. And I'm going to talk a lot about the big book, but there's a part in the big book that sums it up. I know it off by heart, but I don't want to make a mistake. There's a part in the doctor's opinion, which is my story, and I'm just going to swap out my name. It says it's on XXVIII if you've got your book. It says men and women drink. So Rita Q ate her alcoholic foods because she liked the effect produced by them. The sensation was so elusive that while Rita knew they were injurious, she could not, after a time, differentiate the true from the false. To her, her compulsive overeating life seemed the only normal one. She was restless and irritable and discontented until she could again experience the sense of ease and comfort. There was no ease and comfort. The only ease and comfort I had was going to sleep that night, which I couldn't do because I was so full. And then she said, sense of ease and comfort, which at once by taking a few compulsive bites. After Rita has succumbed to the desire again, as she often did, the phenomenon of craving develops, and she passes through the well-known stages of a spree, emerging remorseful with a firm resolution never to do this again. It's repeated over and over until that person can experience an entire psychic change. There's very little hope of her recovery, and I've got a really good vigil that sums this up. I asked her to share this just because this is pretty much what I just mentioned in that paragraph from start to finish. This is what used to happen with me. I'd be annoyed. I'd be pissed off because you didn't answer the phone. Pissed off you didn't text. Excuse me for swearing. Annoyed you didn't text back. Couldn't believe you wouldn't go out this weekend. Oh, so I start thinking about food. I know a packet of or something, and then I take the first bite. I'll just have one. If you had put me on a lie detector test at number three, if the CIA, FBI, British intelligence services had put me on a lie detector at number three, I probably would have passed because I had convinced myself I would just have one small bite, and then I start the craving, and the craving begins, and then before I know it, I'm eating and eating and eating. And then I feel awful about it, and I hate myself, and I promise I'll never do it again. And you know what? That cycle just keeps on happening and happening. I'm happy to send that to anybody, and that was my life. And I never thought I was a compulsive overeater. I always thought I was just greedy. And my brother got me into OA. Well, he was my Abba. He tried to get me into OA, and I just wouldn't have it because, that old adage that we all have, I'm going to sort this out. I'm going to do this in New Year's Day. I'm going to start on Monday. And I mean, it was like that. I got up to 400 pounds at my worst. But I came to away in 2003 after horrendous. I ate all through my life. I wasn't one of these people that bought bags and bags of food. I was one of the, it's not about the food anyway, but I was one of these people that just didn't stop eating. I had to be chewing, I had to be eating, I had to be, shoveling, doing something. And I came into OA and I started to hear my story. But when I first came in, it was all very kind of OA literature, and that was fine. But I didn't really understand the phenomenon of craving as well as I do now. And I had 5 years of great sobriety. But then I got the lurking notion it talks about on page 33 of the big book, and I picked up. And I started, it says once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. And I thought, actually, I'll be all right. I'll just have one. I can't even believe I'm saying that. And it's like, before I knew it, I was in the sugar, I was in the food, I was in the volume, and I was paid off all the time. And the thing is, my life wasn't unmanageable in the sense that, before away, I had me, I'm happily married. I own my house outright. I had a good job, and I'm not saying that to boast, but I didn't come into a way, in Skid Row. But what I came in was not being able to manage my emotions. My human emotions were all over the shop. I had a response of a 4-year-old child having a tantrum to anything that you said. You didn't see it on the outside, but inside I was screaming at you, and gesticulating a lot, and that's the way it was before away. So then I started working the steps. Got, like I said, got good recovery and had a lurking notion and picked up. And then I went into a relapse like I had never seen. And one thing I would say, your first away experience for me, and away my first abstinence was a gift, but my second, it was a total gift. But the second one I had to work for because my disease was so strong. And I have to think now. I have to be really clear what my alcoholic foods are. This is how, and I'm just going to explain how I got out of it. I was desperate. I had a massive spiritual awakening. God really showed up for me. If you haven't heard my story, this is for a longer story, but basically God showed up in a hospital for me, and I got back into a way, and I worked my steps like my hair was on fire, because the steps will eventually get you to a spiritual awakening, and the steps will do for me what the food did for me without all the pain and the sore stomachs and wanting to throw up, which I never did, by the way. But so after a miraculous couple of life events, my mum and dad died really close together, and I got stage 4 cancer, and I couldn't stop eating. And then I had this massive spiritual awakening. I came back to a way, and I discovered the big book in a way that I hadn't before. And I started to see things, and I'm sure everybody can relate. You read something, and then all of a sudden, I never saw that before. I still get days like that where I think, I never thought about that before. But the thing with the disease is what we resist persists, and it gets worse and it gets worse. And the thing about the steps, it'll comfort the disturbed and it'll disturb the comforted. And I can't get away with anything now. I used to get away with a lot the first time, in a way, in the sense that I could get away with my character defects. I could sort of, like, they're my 6 and 7 are my new step one. I could really get away with them. And it says very clearly the Oxford group. I just haven't written here on the side. The Oxford group that predates AA. It's kind of where AA came from. And they said there's 4 impediments to recovery: a resentment you will not get rid of, which is step 4; a secret you will not tell, step 5; a vicarious thrill like gossip, one of my big ones, step 6 and 7; and that you won't stop; and a restitution you will not make, in 8 and 9. And the only way I can do any of that is with God's help. So how does it work now? Step 1: I'm powerless over food, but not helpless. So I need to know what those foods are. I need to know what those behaviors are. I need to write them down somewhere, and I need to remember and commit them that this is what they are. And if any food I have to grieve, negotiate, or barter has got to go. Any of them. Because I will, honestly, I should have been a barrister. I was like, I could negotiate my way out of anything, or a hostage negotiator. Step 2, came to believe in the power greater than myself. But it's not only believing. I had a really strong faith in God. That got me up to over 30 stone. It's about the full belief that they can remove it from me. It's a full reliance on God. Saying I believe, as one of my friends, I could see her here in front of me, and she always says, you can sit in the garage, don't make you a car. I have to fully practice that. And then step 4 and 5, oh, I gotta tell you how bad I am. That's the way I look at it. But it's not, it's about owning the things that I did. 6 and 7 are the character defects, and I have a lot of them. But what I have on my phone now is my character defects with the opposite. So one of my biggest ones is impatience. I'm really impatient for certain things. I'm very patient in certain things. So I write the opposite of that, obviously, is patient. So I have to ask God to remove one, but also to increase the other, so that it kind of weighs out the other one, if that makes sense. That's how it works for me. 8 and 9, I make amends now when I can, but my amends before look something like this: I'm really sorry, but you made me do that. I'm really sorry, but you pissed me off. I'm really sorry, but, and the but has been removed. I am sorry for what I've done. How can I make it better? Is there anything else you want to tell me? Go easy on that one, though. And then step 10, that's a daily practice now for me. Step 10 is what got me in the food. Step 10 is what kept me in the food. Not doing enough of them. So, I need to be able to own my fears and resentments. And I didn't realize my whole life was dominated by fear from an early age. Probably because of my upbringing at the beginning, but not because of my parents. They were wonderful, but just the situation I grew up with in Northern Ireland, that might have started a bit of it. But, it says in the big book, doesn't it? Let no man tell you he can't get well if he gets his wife back, his car back. If you're thin, if you're fat, whatever it is, that's rubbish. Once you're an addict, you're an addict. As far as I'm concerned, for me, that it's nothing to do with anything that happened. There was just things that kind of, I suppose, spurred it on. And fear is false evidence appearing real, and I believed it every time. And I have never not done anything because of fear. I've just wasted a lot of time being fearful. So that for me now in step 10 comes out a lot. I do a lot of resentments. I can't have a resentment without a fear attached. And then 11, 10 is where I empty out all my junk. It's where I take out the trash, as I say. 11 is where God gives me a new bin liner to put back in the bin, and he's like, right, take this, it's empty now. And then 12 is where I go off and help. And service is a really big thing for me. And I know we're probably reading step 12 in a lot of meetings. Service is really important for me. And I have had to go above group level, which I never wanted to do. I had this real issue into groups. I just thought, no, it's too authoritarian, don't like it. I tried to get involved before, and I felt really uncomfortable about it. But then God was really clear when I came back to a way. He's like, you got to get involved in this. And I'm like, I don't want to. And the thing is, God will keep presenting me with opportunities until I actually do something about it. And that's the same with the negatives and the positives. So now on a daily basis, I get up early. Just before this meeting, I go off and swim. That's really where I connect with God. I'd love to say I'm like Gandhi and sit cross-legged, namaste, for an hour and a half. I can't do that. I've got ADHD, now formally diagnosed. My head is just too full. So the way I connect the most is in water, actually. But I was sit and pray, and I do it on the hoof, and I do it throughout the day as well. I do center myself in the morning. It just depends on what morning it is and what I'm doing, because sometimes I go out walking as well. And then, like I said, I go throughout the day, but I watch throughout the day as well. And I have to be able to, when I come home at night, I think when I'm doing my review, I think, what was I like to live with today? What did that look like? Is what I ate today something I would show somebody else? Is my exercise levels something I would tell somebody else? Am I proud of how I conducted myself today? These kind of things I have to ask myself and get God to help me answer, because I have got a completely distorted mind when it comes to not only myself but food, and what is right and what is wrong. So I have to keep certain parameters within my recovered life as well. And basically, it is a journey, and it's only the day we're in. And I had to do the steps quickly, because I had to get to that spiritual awakening as fast as I could, because I was killing myself, and I would have ended up dead. I know if I hadn't come back to the way at 30 stone, barely able to walk, breaking furniture, eating myself sick every day, I would be dead now. And I had a chance to live. And this is, I don't want to peddle out loads of sayings, but it's true. It is a design for living that works and rough going. Now I don't think about food. I had a really tough biopsy the other week, and I came out, and I was just like, I just called somebody. And I make three, that's what I do on a daily basis. I make a minimum of 3 outreach calls. I connect with sponsees. I connect with my own sponsor. And I always say it's about saying please in the morning and thank you at night, and in between trying to help others suffering compulsive overeaters. And I am really blessed, because I'm retired. I'm able to do that, to give more time to away now. But I think it was all God's plan. I can see it really clearly now. But that's the thing with anything, you can only see it in the rear view mirror. And I just want to read, the I have some relapse promises, and relapse was a huge part of my story. And I just wanted to read these, because they really did come true when I went back in the food. It says, if we dive headlong into relapse, we will be amazed before we're halfway through. We're going to know a new pain, and we will remember the misery that made us want to quit in the first place. We will regret our decisions, our actions, and feel as though we've lost control. We will comprehend the words addiction and insanity, and we will know self-loathing. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see there are still more opportunities to make more mistakes and experience more pain. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will reappear. We will lose interest in our fellows and gain interest in selfish things. Self-seeking will be our way of life. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and economic insecurity will return, and we will intuitively know how to sabotage our lives and the lives of those we care about. We will suddenly realise that we are doing for ourselves what even our worst enemies would not wish upon us. The price of admission into recovery was paid. And misery, and upon leaving, we are entitled to a full refund. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. We've witnessed this pattern frequently, and we see the results, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if you give in to them. Just stay until the miracle happens. It's happened for me, and it can happen for anybody in this meeting. And thank you so much for letting me share my story. I'll leave it there.